This image tells a story that for ages has been transmitted to the world as fact. The painting itself is a fact. It was created. But the idea that it represents is a myth that began with the encounter of the Europeans and the Mexicans, specifically Spaniards and Mexicans. My name is Gabriel Hugo. I'm the author of the X Codex, a blog on my website, gabrielhugo.com. And in this blog, I talk about different things, but at the moment, I am concentrated on this one topic, which is the conquest of Mexico, which has been something that has been intriguing me for many years, more than 20 years. I've devoted a lot of time to it, but I still would not call myself an expert in this field, only because this field is primarily based on conjecture and hearsay and fiction, because it is stemming from the testimony of a group of people that benefited most from what happened with the supposed conquest of Mexico. So the idea was to present the worst possible picture of Native Americans as unworthy of self-government, unworthy of possessing their own lands, unworthy of rights as human beings, unworthy of their treasures, unworthy of their language, of their art, culture, religions, unworthy. And therefore needing the European, the Spanish, the Catholic presence in their lives, in their cultures, to, in a way, correct them or bring them into civilization, where, on the contrast, these people were already hugely civilized, already hugely advanced, probably even further down the line than European or old world cultures in some areas. Maybe in the technological field, the advancement wasn't on the same trajectory, but that's a point of view. That's just a matter of how you look at it. If you're looking at it in terms of what you know, which is the only thing that most of us know, is what we have experienced and what we have become accustomed to. But in their world, the very same thing could be said. Nothing was lacking. The use of the wheel wasn't lacking, because everything that they needed to bring about their productivity and commerce and everything was fulfilled without the wheel. It also, in terms of homes, in terms of spaces for gatherings and all kinds of either social or individual family gatherings and communions, that was also fulfilled with their own technology, with their own architecture. So things like the arch, the European arch, were not necessarily something that they were lacking or needing. As a matter of fact, there was already an arch in the Americas, and yet many peoples in the Americas didn't find it too useful, or perhaps didn't really want to go down that path, adopt that architecture. There's nothing wrong fundamentally with not picking up on a trend. It's like certain technologies that are arising right now. We have wind power, solar power, fuel, of course, petroleum, electricity for cars. So which is the best? you can argue, you can make arguments on all of those, all different kind of arguments, and they're all valid. And choosing one or the other doesn't necessarily guarantee a certain outcome. It just, there's probabilities, there are things to consider. So it's the same thing here. So these people were highly advanced. They were scientists, they were mathematicians. They produced hugely successful civilizations for thousands of years. So to say that they were primitive and needing some intervention from a more advanced civilization, that's untrue, and unfortunately is still the narrative today, and it affects how people of those backgrounds are seen, including people like myself who come from a Mexican background. And so because of this, I propose that since these tales that we have been told for many generations, many hundreds of years, actually, almost 500 years next year, this narrative needs to change. And it would be totally justified to adjust the narrative to fit what we already know. We can verify, through archaeology, we can verify that the people on this continent, on this hemisphere, were hugely advanced. And we can see that in their architecture. We can see that in their agriculture. We can see that in many aspects of the traces that they left behind, even though they're not gone, even though they're still around. But that still points to huge advancements that simply just completely go against the narrative of these people being primitive, these people being barbarians, these people being unsophisticated. It doesn't match. And so I would propose that people in general, common folks out there, I wouldn't leave it up to the historians. Historians are not interested in going against the grain. Historians want to keep propping up the same narrative that we've been hearing for generations and generations, even though it makes no sense. It makes no sense, a lot of it. And so historians are not going to do it. It needs to be common people, common folks who are interested in their culture, in their background, in their histories. We need to be the ones out there making the change. It's very simple. I'm a writer, I'm an author, and the way I'm doing it and the way I propose everybody should do it, not just support me as the writer who's going to make a change. I'm not gonna do that. We need to all, people in general need to all be the authors of this change, of this narrative that needs to be adjusted to fit who we really are. My little attempt at doing this is by writing my own book. And it's actually a series called, as you can see, the X series. And the first book 1, is Tenochtitlan Must Fall. And so I encourage everyone, first of all, make your own decisions first. Do the research. I've done plenty of research. That's why I can, after years, like I said, more than 2 decades of researching this, I have come to the conclusion only in the past couple of years, maybe 3 years, 4 years, that what I've been grappling with that didn't make sense, that I was trying to fit in my head, was something that was not something that was that is fiction. And since it's fiction, it doesn't really mesh with reality. See? And that's how you know that you're dealing with something that needs to be adjusted to reflect the actual past, the actual way things were. And so I will get in deep into what I'm trying to talk about on my blog, the X Codex. But I would like for you to get my book. It's on special, 99 cents pre-order on the Kindle version. You get it immediately as soon as it gets published by the latest October 8th, which is in the Indigenous Peoples Day, or otherwise known as Columbus Day. So get my book, read it. It's a fictional story based on the things that happened prior to the fall of the Aztec Empire and how all that went down, how it went down from the point of view of Aztecs. Even though I've read a lot, I still to this day haven't come across a book that is totally focused primarily on the indigenous point of view from the start. Other than perhaps Aztec by Gary Jennings, which is also a fine work of fiction. But still, even that book supports or repeats the same kind of narrative of the way things went down. And so this is a total departure. My book is a total departure, but it's told from the point of view of one Mexica individual who is a merchant, called Tlaxcalteca. So this guy, he's a young guy. He goes through a lot of troubles. He realizes the city of Tenochtitlan is somewhat compromised by itself, by its own corruption and excesses, and but also other factors. Tenochtitlan Must Fall. Like I said, it's on special, 99 cents pre-order. So with that said, thank you very much.